let's start by finding a comfortable seat. And as you settle into your posture, always remember, even when you're doing yoga, not with me or with somebody else, take the time when you come into the beginning of your practice to have a moment to clearly mark, like, now I am in my practice, to kind of like seal the space, like create a boundary around your practice so that you can be assured that it's a little easier to rest the mind. Really, the body will follow, but the mind is usually the part we have to harness a little bit more to avoid all the distractions, especially when you're at home. It's easy to practice at home in some ways, but it's hard to practice at home in some ways. So close your eyes and forget about all the to dos that could be in front of you. The lists can go on and on forever and ever. So try to remember that all the activities that our mind constantly is rising toward is like threading beads on a string that has no knot. It just keeps going, right? So we don't have to attach ourselves to anything. We can just allow ourselves to drop in and be here now. So scan your body and just take notice. What's the first thing that you notice when you notice your body? What is it about what you're noticing? Is pain drawing your attention, or is ease drawing your attention first? And just sense in what's available for a little extra space right now. So can you float your spine? Can you open the heart space? Can you feel just a little bit of slight effort in the back of your body to support you so we're not slumped over? Can you rest the base of your skull and feel as though you can float your head over your spine? Do you have a broad base of support with your pelvis and legs? Is your diaphragm loose enough so that your breath is able to move freely within you? Let's just begin to notice the breath, paying attention in whatever way you capture attention, whether it's using your hands to do a mirroring movement of the breath, or focusing on the sensation of breath or the sound, whatever it is. Follow the inhale and the exhale. Draw your attention to link up with your breathing. As you start to feel that you're present a little bit more, and it's okay if your mind tendrils are still floating out there, let's just keep moving towards center. And as you reach into that place, let's bring our hands together at your heart. And feel the centering of this mudra of just sensing your fingers, your palms, everything touching. In this calm, centered place, see if you can connect the mind, the hands, the heart, the center of our thinking, center of our doing, center of our feeling. And in this place, create an intention. Relax your hands. And let's find our way onto our back. So as you come to rest, make sure you have, this rolled towel, like um, we sometimes use. So 3 rubber bands around a hand towel rolled up. We'll use that in a moment, but first let's just start the way we always do. We're stretching our body, reaching overhead, maybe the left arm and the right arm, and find that little bit of movement as you stretch one side and then stretch the other side, and enjoy what the shoulders feel like, and hips, maybe your back. How's your breath here? Okay. And then put your feet on the ground for a moment. Adjust your pelvis, and then place your hands in a cactus position. So goalpost arms, elbows are straight out from your shoulders, and backs of the hands on the ground, right angles with your elbows. And just pay attention. If you have tightness in a shoulder, you might find that one hand drops all the way down to the ground really easily, and maybe the area where you feel a little tight, the hand kind of hovers off the ground. So just notice, what's happening in your shoulders today. Take a deep breath into the heart space here. Melt through the base of the skull. All right, and reach your arms up again. Keep your feet on the floor. You can adjust your pelvis as needed. And we're going to cross the right arm over the left arm and just hang on to your shoulders for a moment. Feeling your breath. Relax your collarbones widely. Okay, so instead of scrunching them toward the midline, see if you can hold your shoulders, but let your collarbones widen. And then open your arms straight out to the sides like a T. Stretch through your palms, and then let's cross the other way. Left arm over right. Now, if you don't have any problems with your shoulders, this may seem super simple and like, what are we doing? I'm just sitting here with my arms crossed. But if you have trouble with your shoulder, this is a huge thing to accomplish. So if you feel nothing, be very thankful that this is an easy movement for your body. All right, and then let's reach the arms overhead one more time, stretching into your hands. Let's roll your wrists and roll your hands around. You can wiggle your fingers. And now we're going to take a little bit deeper cross. So eagle arms, right arm over left. And if you can, I still am having trouble with this movement, so I can't, hold on to my hands. But if you can, cross at your elbows and then reach to your hands. If you can't reach to your hands, just be where you are. Shoulders away from the ears, collarbones broaden. Find your breath. And then open up, arms straight out to the sides again. And let's change sides. Left arm over right. Interlace your hands if you can. And just enjoy those eagle arms. And again, if this feels easy to you, have gratitude for that. Then unwind your arms, stretch to a star, reaching into your legs now, reaching into your hands, and then exhale, knees into your chest, pick up your head, a little snug ball. One more time, feeling expansive and open, and then exhale, draw your knees in. And let's put our left foot on the ground, cross your right leg over your left leg, and draw your knees towards your chest. Keep your head down onto the ground. Wide sit bones. Breathing deeply. And then open up. Bring your legs straight up in the air, arms straight overhead. Start to engage your core. Feel that compressing down toward the ground a little bit. And while we're here, let's flex and point our feet. And maybe do some little ankle rolls. Whatever kind of movement you want to do in both feet, stabilizing through your core, keeping your neck and head relaxed, breathing well. All right, and then knees coming back in, and put your feet on the ground. Let's cross the other leg on top. Bring your knees toward your chest, and now feel what it feels like. Your left leg, I think, for me, my left leg is on top, my right leg is bottom. I hope that's the way the opposite of what you did before as well. Wide sit bones, head is heavy. And then open up to a star. Reaching outward, and then exhale. Drawing drawing inward. Put your feet on the ground, right leg over left, left arm over right. Eagle on the ground. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, touch your elbow and knee coming in toward each other, and then relax. Tap your toe, head down. Twice more. Exhale, engage your core, and then tap head and foot. One more time. Feel your core engage on your exhale, and then release. Unwind your body, reach your body out to a star, and then exhale, draw your knees in, head comes up, put your right foot on the ground, put your head on the ground, cross left thigh over right, draw your knees in. This time, our right arm is over our left arm. If you can't grab, you can always hold your shoulders. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, elbows and knees come to touch. Inhale, open up, tap your toe, tap your head. Exhale, drawing in. One more time. Exhale, drawing. Stretch your limbs really wide again. And then exhale, knees to your chest, roll to your side and come up to your hands and your knees. All right, so as we start to move into some cat-cows, let's just enjoy the way the spine is feeling as you arch and round your back. Taking your time, noticing the movement of your spine, try to accentuate the ripple through your vertebrae, like a wave moving into the back bend and like a wave moving into the forward bend. Just warming and loosening our spine. Curl your toes under and settle back towards child's pose with your feet curled under. Touch your ankles. Open up and spread the bottom of your feet. And then come back up and find a regular child's pose. So let your feet relax, drop your hips toward the heels, walk the hands forward. Stretch through your shoulders. Feel the hips drop down. Open up through the breath. And then let's walk the hands over to the left, feeling that sense of reach in the body. Drop your sit bones down again. Open up through the rib cage. That right side body finds the space as well as your shoulder. And then come over to the other side and feel that reach. Drop some weight into the sit bones. Relax the base of the skull. And then coming back to center. Onto all fours again. Wag your tail. Move your ribs around. Any kind of mobility that feels really good. All right, and then let's find the twist. Left arm lifting up. Exhale and slide that under. Enjoy the twist. Enjoy the way the breath feels. Opening up through the rib cage a bit. Relax the head. And now come halfway out of this pose. So we're going to keep the arm underneath us, but slide it a little bit so that our chest faces the ground. Drop back towards child's pose. Open your collarbones. And just see if you can get that posterior capsule stretch in your shoulder. Relax through the front of the shoulder, that AC joint where your collarbone meets your shoulder. Let's see if we can rest and find space there. And release that. Inhale, reach the arm up in the air again. Hand comes down onto the ground. Switch sides. Arm lifting. Exhale, slide that arm underneath. Twisting through your spine. Gaze toward the ground. Full breaths. All right, and then when you're ready to transition, come out of there a bit, facing the ground, hips back toward the heels. Find that sense of opening across the front of your shoulder. It's very compressive in there, so find as much space as you can. Full breaths. And then inhale, reach that arm all the way back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. And one more time, move your spine about. And walk the hands forward on the mat or the knees back on the mat, and we'll come into puppy pose. Drop your chest toward the ground without collapse. See if you can not just sink toward the ground, but have a little loft under the armpits and feel the space that's created in your spine. And release and relax. Grab your 2 blocks. We're almost ready to come up into a dog pose. But first, just put the blocks on the ground, the short edge right next to each other. So you have a long plank. We're gonna put our elbows on there, palms together. Stretch back towards child's pose. If you can't do child's pose well, if your knees are tricky or your hips and you don't deepen very well, you can always do this pose standing on a piece of furniture so that we can come into this posture. For those of you who have done yoga with me at the J, remember doing this on the bar. Okay, so if whatever position you're in, whether you're standing like I am or on the blocks, we're lifting under our armpits and stretching from our elbows to our hips. And go ahead and relax out of there, move the blocks out of the way, and let's find our way up to dog pose. So feeling that long extension, take a moment to open your legs up a little bit, drop one heel, drop the other heel. We're coming into a sense of pedaling and opening. Let your hips come offline so you can really feel the sense of mobility all through your ribs and your pelvis and your legs. And then find that grounding. So rooting through hands and feet, feeling the melting through your skull. Full breaths here. Deep inhale, a long exhale. When you're ready, come forward, Uttanasana. Bringing our feet forward on the mat. Bend your knees as much as you need or want to so that you have that softness in your skull, dangling down, a sense of ease through your spine. Your pelvis is tipping. Feel your breath. Inhale for a halfway lift. Spine is growing, lengthening here. And exhale. And push off your feet, rising up, bringing the arms to the sky. Leaning back a little bit, feel the heart lift. So just this energetic sense of I choose to lift my heart into the day. Okay, let's cactus, open the arms here, big breath, and then exhale and round in, forearms to touch. Bring the arms up again, feel that extension, and then reach them behind you. Interlace your hands behind your back, open up into the fronts of your shoulders. Find your breath, and if it's comfy, keep your hands there and lean forward. I'm going to stay upright because it's a better stretch for my shoulder when I don't lean forward, but you can lean forward and let your hands leave your back. Bend your knees as much as you want to. Feel that opening across your collarbones. Feel the fronts of your shoulders stretch open. Full breaths. And then release your arms from behind your back, let them dangle toward the ground. A halfway lift, long spine. Exhale and melt to fold. Step back to dog pose again. Hands on the ground, feet on the ground. Full breaths here. Yield and push off. Feel the grounding of the index finger mounds. Maybe you want to take your legs a little wider and draw your femur bones way back. Finding your breath. Let's come forward into a plank. Hold yourself steady. Integrate into the center of your body. A lot of times when we move toward back bending poses, we get, obviously we're going to open up the front of the spine, but sometimes having a little stability through your core and having core awareness can really help your back bend stay more stable. So Wake up your core in this position. And when you're ready, you can put your knees down, find the ground. A couple of shoulder rolls so we know we're reaching away from our ears a little bit. When you're ready, draw the shoulder blades down the back. Inhale, lift to cobra pose. Is your core helping you a little bit here? Exhale and lower back down. Stabilize the core. So instead of just squeezing your butt cheeks really tight, see if you can engage the core, then engage the glutes a little bit so there's a little more balance, and lift up to a cobra pose. Exhale, relaxing back down. Okay. Take the arms down at your sides, palms facing the ground. Stabilize your pelvis, so a little bit of pubic bone toward navel, tailbone toward knees. Inhale, first just lift your arms, so feel your triceps engage, feel the heads of the arm bones lift off the ground, drop your shoulder blades toward your low back. Take a deep breath, engage your core, start to lift the back body a little bit more off the ground. Finding the breath, and then exhale and release to come back down. Come up onto all fours and move your spine around. So sometimes the focus of back bends can be about strengthening the back body. Sometimes the focus on back bends could be more passive, about opening the front body. We're going to just do a little bit of both. So let's find a bird dog. We're going to start with the arms. So let's take our left arm straight out to the front, thumb up toward the sky, and pulse that arm a couple of times. And just notice, where is that strength coming from? Can you relax the base of the skull and feel the muscles along the whole side of your spine? And then add the leg, the opposite leg, right leg is lifting up, and connect your, low back of your left side with the glutes of the right side and cross over. Make that cross in the body. And then exhale and release. Come back to child's pose for a moment. Just open up your back. And then come back up onto all fours. Start with the other arm. So now we're going to bring our right arm out in front of us, thumb up toward the sky. Pulse a couple of times. And just notice where that strength is coming from. Breathing deeply. And then we'll add the leg width. See if you can feel the muscles along your whole spine, matching with the opposite glutes, hugging into your core as well. Big breaths. Exhale and release. Back to child's pose. Settle your hips toward the heels. When you feel ready, lift to dog pose. A long, spacious spine. Round through the index finger mounds. Let's lift the right leg up in the air. When you feel ready, stack open your hip. Bend your knee if you want. Stretch open through your ribs, through your belly, through the front of that hip. And square things up again. Let's switch sides. Left leg lifting. Find your breath. When you're ready, open up, stack your hip. Maybe bend your knee. Be mindful of your right side not collapsing. Open up, stretch your knee or your foot if your leg is straight, all the way away from your shoulder, and find that long spine. And then release that foot down onto the ground. Walk your feet forward, come to Uttanasana. Inhale for a halfway lift. Fold again. Let's step our left foot back. Come to a lunge on this side. Right foot is in front. Hands can be on blocks or on the ground. Open up across your heart. Let's bend and straighten the front knee, enjoying the movement of your body. Breathing well. And your lunge again. Ground through your feet. Inhale, come on up, crescent lunge. Feeling the arms reach to the sky, reach the heart up to the sky. Feel that back bend that inherently lives in this posture, that full arc from your heart to your back knee, feeling that long line. And then bring your arms out to the sides as you start to lean forward. Bring your arms back, palms facing the ground, heads of the arm bones lifting, ribs lifting off your thigh. And then if you can, bring both arms forward. And if this is too much, bring them back again or out a little bit wider. Whatever feels nice to you, strengthening the back body. And then release your hands down to the ground. Place your knee, back knee, on the ground. Uncurl your toes or leave them curled, whatever feels good for your body. Stretching open through the hip flexor. Finding your breath. And let's come back up, bringing the arms to the sky, both of them. Notice the strength that's required in your legs to do this. Hug your front heel and back knee toward each other. Find the midline with your legs so that we're not sinking and falling. And then right hand on your knee. Stretch open through that left side. And we're going to turn this into a twist. So elbow on your knee, forearm on your knee, hand on your knee, whichever, whatever works. Open up across your chest. Stretch open those collarbones. Hug to the midline with your legs. Big breaths here. All right. Release. Bring your hands down onto the ground. Bring your front foot back, child's pose. And just pay attention. Notice what's here. As you compress into that hip now, that left hip, that was opening and stretching. You just let it relax. Coming back up onto all fours. Let's bring our left foot in front now. Feeling into this lunge here. When you feel ready, curl your toes under and lift your back knee up off the ground. Let's bend and straighten this front knee. Enjoy, go slow. Move with your breath. Enjoy the sensations of your body. You feel grounded, root into your lunge, stabilize, press your front foot into the ground, feel that heel ground so that your glutes turn on a little bit, and find your way up to crescent lunge. Reaching the arms, extending them upward, feeling yourself kind of float off your pelvis a little bit as you reach up and high. Ground into the front foot, feel the back leg open. Arms can come out to the sides. Lean forward, palms facing the ground. Arms are down next to your hips. Heads the arm bones lifting. Lift your ribs off your leg. Press into your feet. And then slowly bring your arms forward and just see what it feels like to have them out in front of you. Thumbs up. Melt the base of your skull. Hug to the midline with your inner thighs. Find your breath. And then slowly rise back up. And let's bring our hands down onto the blocks. Back knee comes down onto the ground. So opening up the hip flexor a little bit more here. Finding your breath. When you're ready, two arms coming on up. Crescent lunge with our knee down onto the ground. Notice your rib cage. See if you can prevent yourself from pressing forward. Draw those ribs in. Push down through your feet. And then we'll take our left hand on our thigh so you can stretch open through that right side body. We're very active with the legs, hugging front foot, back knee toward each other, hugging to the midline, pressing into the ground. And then cross that arm over. Maybe your elbow comes to your knee, maybe your forearm, maybe your hand. There's no right amount. You just find your twist. Keep hugging to the midline. Broaden across your collarbones. Let the twist happen with your breath. Try not to lose your legs in the process. And then on the Find that pose, hands down onto the ground. Again, child's pose, letting your hips soften back. So the hip flexors now are in deep flexion. Just let them relax. Breathing well. We're going to flip over onto our back. Okay. I promise we'll get around to the rolled towel, just not yet. Okay. We're going to do an active bridge pose. So feet are grounded. We're going to lift up onto our hip or up our hips up off the ground, rock onto the tops of your shoulders. You can interlace your arms underneath you, or if that's not good for your shoulders, arms are straight, palms are facing up, press your arms into the ground. Open up through your chest and breathe. Notice where your weight is in your feet, ground through the four corners. Fill yourself with breath. Empty yourself of breath. Lower your body back down. Neutral spine. Knees are bent, feet on the floor. Windshield wiper your knees left and right. Breathing deeply. We're going to do this with a block under our pelvis. So try this with the block on the low height. You can always go higher if you need to, but let's start with the low height of the block. Put it across your pelvis, underneath your sacrum. Let's have a little trial run with our feet lengthening. So let's just start with our right leg. So right leg is going to come straight, heel on the ground. And just pay attention. How is that feeling in your body? And then bend that knee, change sides. So we're just having a little trial run to see how this is for our back. Breathe well. Now, if it felt, put your foot back. If you felt okay, then you're going to take two legs at the same time, heels down onto the ground, and your legs can be hip width apart or wider, pointing toes straight up toward the sky. If this was a little trying for your back, then you get to do one side at a time, right leg first. All right, so fill yourself with breath. Now, sometimes when I'm in this pose, I like to stretch my arms over my head too, just to kind of get that full, long, spacious line in the body. Just see what feels good for you. And experiment with bringing your feet a little closer to each other, a little wider. Just find what it is you want. Switch sides. If your right leg is out, bring that foot in on the ground, stretch your left leg out. If you're doing two legs, just stay. Breathing fully. Let your belly move. Let your diaphragm move as you breathe. Okay, and then when you're ready, let's transition this a little bit. So don't bring your knees all the way to your chest, but bring your legs straight up. So you just get a little bit of release in your back, femur bones dropping down into your hips, a little imaginary wall for your legs to rest upon. How's your breathing? Release and relax the legs. Lift the hips up, get the block out of there. And now we're going to come into the movement with our rolled towel. All right, so most of you have done this with me before, but just in case, we're going to take the rolled towel with the rubber bands on it up at the upper shoulders, okay, kind of right at the spine of your scapula. All right, so feet are going to be on the ground, knees bent. And there's three positions to do. First, you just start rocking. So we're pushing off our feet and we're rocking north and south through our spine. You're not going to feel that this is like any huge stretching, but it should be very releasing for your spine. The three positions that you do with your arms while you're rocking, it's hands straight over your chest. This kind of mimics a little bit of flexion in your spine. And then arms overhead, and this creates a little extension in your spine, all the while rocking. And then the hands can come back over your chest and turn your head and your arms over to one side, creating a little bit of rotation, and then go to the other side. So those are the three positions: hands over your chest, hands over your head, and then side side, all while rocking. Now, this can feel really, really good. And if you find a spot where you're like, oh, I just love that spot, then kind of hang out and stay in that spot. And if your shoulder's bothering you, you can modify the arm positions in any way that you want. And if you feel like it's difficult for you to relax your legs, sometimes putting your toes up on a wall to do this can be a great way of helping your legs not work so hard. Okay, so we want to be kind of gentle, and we don't want our pelvis to be doing a lot of movement. So we're not doing a, like a anterior and posterior tilting of the pelvis. We're just finding a nice neutral pelvis and spine, and the rocking motion is very nourishing as we kind of give ourselves a little self massage. And if you have your own way of doing this, by all means. I've noticed through my shoulder injury, obviously there's still some things I can't do. There's much I can do now, but one of the things that I've noticed is in this pose, I can't turn to the left very well. I turn well to the right, but when I go to the left, I get like dead space in my shoulders. So for that, I tend to want to hold my right shoulder and help it. So, if you find little idiosyncrasies in your body like that, play, dance, try to experiment with ways in which you can stick with the principles of stability and ease in your body, kind of finding what is a healthy place for your joints and support yourself. So, that all the modifications in yoga come from people experimenting and figuring out, oh, I can do this if I support myself this way. So sometimes that requires a little sleuthing in your own body. So feel free to play and experiment on that level. Now, this can be a very slow process. Some people go very slowly. And in the interest of being able to do all the yoga practices, I'm, not going to spend 20 minutes doing this today, but you absolutely could spend 20 minutes doing this. Make sure you're breathing. Sometimes it's easy when you're focusing on movement patterns to forget to breathe. We want to have our breath moving really well. And as you get closer toward your mid back and low back, remember that when you do this in your lumbar spine, there's not, the changing shape of your spine really does impact what you're going to sense. So when you do get to your low back, we're going to bring our knees into our chest so that we can just kind of rock and let the roll towel give us a little massage. You can rock top bottom, you can rock side side. So when you get there, maybe a couple passes in your low back in this way. Like I said, I'm kind of moving right along just so we have some time for some other things. So don't worry if you don't get to the full spine today. You can. There's no rules that you have to do your entire spine. I highly recommend it. I'm in my low back now, so depending on where you are, you can know where I am as far as how much longer we have to go. And if you're already, kind of past where I am and you're already at the sacrum, then you can put your legs back on the ground. And oftentimes, when we get to lower in the sacrum and in the tail, we have to straighten our legs to feel anything with this rolled towel. And we can push off our heels and flex and point our toes. Now, you might think that after the low back, when you get to the sacrum, that the arm positions no longer matter.
but they kind of still do, even though you may not feel like they're doing as much as they did when you were up in your upper back. So still work with that flexion, extension, and rotation all the way down the spine. I highly recommend just keeping this roll towel handy. If you're ever, just hanging out on your floor, whether you're talking to somebody, having a conversation, and you can be doing a little something, something, or if you're watching a movie or something and you can be doing this on the floor. I mean, obviously, I highly recommend doing it with no distractions so you're fully present with your experience and your breath. That's the best way. But if you just find yourself in a place where you'd like to move while you're doing other things, that's not such a bad thing either. All right, so we're going to release the spine off of here now, wherever you are. Take a moment to just enjoy the fact that you are quiet in the body. You can have your knees bent, feet on the floor, or legs straight, whatever feels best. And just kind of like when you take ice skates off and you have to walk and it feels weird, or you get off a boat and you stand on ground and it feels weird. Sometimes after the rocking, we have to get used to stillness again. So let yourself breathe here. And then we're going to roll to our right side. You can stick a block under your head or a blanket if you need a little support. Grab onto the left ankle or top of foot and stretch your quad. All right, so tailbone is descending toward your knees, pubic bone toward your belly button. Notice your breath. Notice if all that massaging across the spine has loosened your diaphragm. Is your breath different right now? As you inhale and exhale, do you have a little more space? And let's come over to the other side. Coming onto your left, we're going to grab onto the right ankle and stretch our quad here. Tailbone toward the knees, pubic bone toward the belly button. Stack your hips so that you're not leaning forward or leaning back. Your whole thigh can draw back if you want or need a little bit more quad stretch. Breathing well. Relax. Come onto your back one more time. We're just going to do a little bit of hip work here, a little hip movement. So bring your arms in a comfortable place, left foot on the ground, and we're just going to open our right hip into some big circles. Breathing well. And then you can keep your left foot on the floor, but you might want to walk it away from your hip a little bit so your knee is not as high, your left knee is not as high. Cross your right leg over. And then we're going to just move and tap your foot down on the ground and lift your foot up. And tap your foot down and lift your foot up. And then come back. And now do a little figure eight with that right hip where we're opening up to the right and then crossing the knee to the left. Just a little bit of a figure eight. All right, and then place that foot down onto the ground. And let's find the second side. Left hip, just big circles, opening your knee out to the side. Notice if you have any snaps or cracks or pops. And then walk your right foot a little further away. We're going to cross the left knee over. A little bit of a twist here. Don't go so far. And we're going to drop our toe down and lift our foot up. Drop our foot down and lift our foot up. So just kind of finding some internal and external rotation of the hip here. And then come back onto your back and a little bit of a figure eight with that hip. It doesn't have to be a giant movement. Go where your body, where your back, your hip is all okay. And then take the soles of your feet together. Trial run the Vasupta Baddha Konasana with no support underneath us. We're going to move into a little support in just a moment. Just opening up the pelvis and the hips in this way. Bring your knees up toward your chest. A little bit of rocking. Let your hips relax from that little bit of opening. And then maybe a little bit of rocking north and south. You can hold the backs of your knees. This is usually a little harder, so don't go any further than your body wants to go. And you can also go very far and, take your feet all the way to the ground if you want, over your head. All right, relax that. We're gonna grab 1 or 2 blankets. I'm gonna choose 1 blanket today, but if you want to roll 2 blankets on top of each other, you can. I'm gonna roll a blanket here. So we're gonna take that roll, just like we have the smaller roll of the hand towel. This time we're gonna stay. Now, you can have a block under your head if you need it. We're gonna take this roll towel underneath our shoulder blades. We're just gonna do a couple of positions with this, so not, like we did with the roll towel. And you can choose anything you want with your arms. I would keep your knees bent for this. Feet on the floor. Stretch your arms overhead. Maybe that feels good. Maybe you'd rather take your arms straight out to the sides. Maybe you'd rather cactus your arms. Maybe you would rather grab onto your elbows with your opposite arms and stretch your arms overhead. So many choices. Experiment with what feels good in your body and find your breath. Melt your head into the ground or the support that it's on. Enjoy the big breath. All right, and then we're not going to stay too long. Don't want to use up all your back bending juice. Okay, so now walk the the blanket a little lower. So now it's on the bottom ribs, kind of under your diaphragm. And same thing, stretch your arms and wherever you want them to be, whatever plane feels good. And, just adjust until you find just the sweet spot. You can straighten your legs if you'd like. You can bend your knees and any position with the arms that feels good. Full breaths here. Unlock your diaphragm, let it loosen up all that fascial banding. All right. And then we're going to roll to the side, get that blanket out of there, come onto your back again, bend your knees, and windshield wiper your knees left and right. When your knees turn left, head turns right. When your knees turn right, head turns left. All right, let's take this into a deeper twist. Draw your hips over to the right, pick up your knees, and drop them to the left. And just feel your spine open up into this twist. So, we think that back bends is the only way to free our chest and our sense of open-heartedness. But notice how the rotation also can contribute to our ability to keep our heart open. So not only feel your pecs stretching, but feel how your breath contributes to that mobility of your rib cage in this position. Then come back to center, switch sides, hips over to the left, knees come up, drop them to the right, twisting open. Turn your head to the left. Opening across your chest, letting your breath be deep and full. Accentuate your breathing. Let your breath be part of what's enabling you to stretch deeper. And then roll to your right side. We're gonna come all the way up onto all fours. And just let your spine wiggle around. Maybe find your way to a child's pose. So we're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, and you can do it your favorite way. You could forget the back bend piece if you've had enough of the back bending vibe and you want to just be flat on the ground. You can do it flat on the ground with a little support underneath each knee. I'm going to do it with all the support I have. So I'm going to grab a bolster. I have 2 blocks underneath my bolster so that I have kind of a ramp. So I'm not in a weird back bend, but more just a chest opener. I'm gonna have a blanket for underneath each of my knees and a pillow for underneath each of my arms. And if I had another pillow, which I don't, I would put it under my head. Okay, so I'm creating a big nest. You don't have to have as big of a nest as I'm doing, but the very minimum, I would suggest supporting your knees. Okay. If you want to be up on something, you can, and you don't have a bolster, you can stack the 2 blocks like heart bench and then have a blanket over them so it's a little softer. Whatever you have prop wise, and whatever you're in the mood for as far as the position of this pose. I would recommend, trying to find a little ease through your spine instead of a back bend. We've done a lot of back bending. So right now, I want you to enjoy the space that you just created in your body. Again, you can do anything you want with your arms. If you'd like to have your arms overhead or out or down or any which way you want them to. Quiet your low back. Let your breath travel into your belly. A sense of fullness as you breathe in and out through your abdomen. Let your head get very heavy.
like to transition to Shavasana at any moment. You can straighten your legs, you can come off your props entirely. You can also stay right here. There's no rule that you have to lie flat for Shavasana. The practice is really about resting the mind and body. So if you feel good, stay. If you want to move, move. Deepen your breath. Whatever position you're in, if you need to counter the position in any way to help nourish yourself, maybe bringing your knees in or rocking, a little twisting or anything you need, slowly make your transition out of Shavasana. Taking your time, letting your breath find itself. Come over onto your side, or maybe are ready to sit up. Just eventually taking your time, finding a good posture, seated posture. As you find yourself coming upright, just enjoy maybe a little shifting of the breath, maybe the shifting of the mind, whatever has occurred in your practice, in whatever way you feel more space or ease. Let's have gratitude. Bring our hands together. Let's offer the energy we've cultivated, whatever we can offer. Let's bring our energy forth. Send your love and care to someone or many. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.